Welcome to a brand new season of live football from Scotland on Sky Sports. We start in the SPFL Championship, and what would be in any other season a standout fixture. In the current circumstances, this one means even more.
Familiar foes with an unfamiliar goal. Elevation, restoration, rejuvenation, a way back. Past heroes have rallied to the call. For one, the final ascent. For the other, a reawakening. The first game is as important as the last, for only one is guaranteed passage. Let the battle for the championship commence.
Rangers start the last leg of their journey through the league. Stage 3 is the Championship. The unfurling of the League One title flag means a brief glance back, but they're already looking ahead to the Premiership next year. To get there, Rangers must overcome two unexpected hurdles, both Edinburgh clubs. It's been 31 years since Hearts played in the second tier. They were relegated from the Premiership after a 15-point deduction. Now, though, it's a level playing field. They're out of administration, have a new owner, and in the dressing room, Robbie Neilson is the new head coach. Ibrox Stadium accommodated the Rugby Sevens during the Commonwealth Games last month. It's back to hosting Scotland's national sport today. It looks glorious in high definition on Sky Sports 1 HD, and it's also on Sky Go for mobiles. Well, who would have thought it? Two of Scotland's most famous clubs meeting together for the first time in the second tier of Scottish football. And of course, with Hibs also in the Championship, it's going to be the most exciting year ever at this level. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Neil McCann, who won trophies at both of these clubs, and Walter Smith, who won just 21 trophies in two spells as Rangers manager. Walter, lovely to have you in to do a Rangers game with us. What do you think is required at this season for Rangers, for the club to properly progress?
I think it's fairly simple. They have to get promotion. They have to get themselves into the Premier Division. I don't think there's any other way forward for Rangers. I mean, they're 3 years out of the Premier Division. I think it's not been the best thing for Scottish football. But for Rangers Football Club especially, they have to get back into the Premier Division in one season.
Neil, Hearts, of course, brought in Craig Levein as Director of Football. He sacked Gary Locke, an inexperienced manager, and he brought in Robbie Neilson, who's even less experienced. What did you make of that decision, given what's required this particular year?
I was very surprised. I wasn't surprised at Craig going into Hearts, because I think it was one of the worst kept secrets around in Scottish football at the time. But the sacking of Gary Locke surprised me. It disappointed me. And then to go and replace him with Robbie was a clincher, because Robbie has little or no experience at first team level. I know he worked with Falkirk, but I don't know what kind of input he had in the team there. Now he's saying that he's going to have full hands-on choosing of the starting 11, at least it takes a park. I'm not sure that will be the case, because I think Craig will have to guide him. Due to his lack of experience, I hope he does get that opportunity to pick the team, because after all, he'll fall. Either rise or fall on his decisions, and he wants to be his own decisions, not one of Craig Levein's.
Well, the Rangers team is without doubt chosen by Ali McCoy. So let's have a look at that, Walter. Zaliukas, former Hearts captain, makes his debut. Return for Miller and Boyd. What's the game plan, do you think, from that lineup?
Well, I think when you look at it overall, I think their back four look as solid as it's been since any time since I've been in the lower divisions. Midfield, they're still slightly struggling to get the proper balance there. Lewis McLeod in the right is not a wider player, but is playing well. Ian Black into the middle areas of the pitch in there with David Templeton. I mean, I think that's a stronger Rangers team as we're likely to see for the season. They'll have to settle down, and I think if that team is allowed to settle down and play, we'll see Rangers as strong as they have been. And I think with that team, if they do settle in a manner that we would hope, would be favourites for promotion from the division.
Neil, 5 new players in the Hearts lineup. Well, is it all about settling down for them? Is it a gamble playing so many new guys?
Yeah, listen, they have to get them in if they're signing them. They have to see if they're good enough, first and foremost, and there's no harder place to come than Ibrox to see if they are good enough. The really important area of the pitch for me is going to be through the middle there, Nicholson, Bladwin, Gomez and King. I think they're going to have to play narrow, because I think Rangers will come in there, because that's where they'll have to feed Miller and Boyd. No longer is it going to be smashing it up for Big John Daly. They're going to have to thread things through, and those four guys in particular are going to have to work ever so hard to protect and support.
Well, definitely older and probably wiser. Chris Boyd and Kenny Miller are back at Ibrox, where previously they did their best work.
Kenny, looking at Chris, where has he changed since you last played together?
To be honest, I wouldn't want him to change at all. I mean, it's for some, if you can guarantee a striker it's going to get you 25, 30 goals a season, you wouldn't want to change that. That knacky kind of finding the space in the box and that ball dropping and him putting it away, we don't want to change that.
You know, my most successful time was playing beside Kenny. I really enjoyed it. You know, he'd done a lot of work for me, creating space for me to be in the box.
You're going to return the favour this time around?
Do you want me to be honest?
I did a few times. I did. You're probably a few assists.
It must have been coming back off the goalie. You know, don't be kidded that, you know, he's still chipped in with 15 towards 20 goals a season as well. So, you know, if you've got that, you know, you've got the potential 40 plus between us as players. We've been there when it's been at the highest level, and we demand that from you know, ourselves, from our teammates.
We're absolutely delighted to be back here, and it's great to have familiar faces alongside you as well. And for us, the championship this year is going to be a big test for us. We want to get that fear factor back into Ibrox. We need to start that, and like we said, it's a right chance to put a marker down this week.
And there they are together again. Walter, they last played together here when you were manager. Did Kenny Miller do some of his best work alongside Chris Boyd?
Yes, I think he did. I don't think there's any doubt that they're a good partnership. Kenny has good movement, you know, Chris is a good finisher. And, you know, he talks there about scoring 40 goals in the season. If they do that, Rangers will get promotion. And I think they can do that. I don't think there's any doubt that, given that they get decent supply, as Neil mentioned earlier, I think, you know, the midfield areas of the pitch, especially for Rangers, are a bit where they've got to show improvement football-wise this season. And if they can get the ball to the two strikers, supply an opportunity, then I don't think there's any doubt that these two players can help Rangers clinch the promotion.
Well, on Chris Boyd, I know he said that he's developed an understanding of what he has to do to help the team. Would you sacrifice work rate for just solid goals?
I'm a bit worried about that. When I heard them talk about that, I read about it in newspapers as well. He's a finisher. He's an out-and-out finisher. He's not a player who can go outside the penalty area. And while, as you get older, his knowledge has increased, he maybe knows what he has to do to try and help the team and work a little bit harder. But I think we've got to be careful that he doesn't take away from what is Chris Boyd, and that's goals.
Well, coming up next, we'll speak to the two managers, or head coach, to give Robbie Nielsen his correct job title. He arrived, of course, in the summer alongside Director of Football Craig Levine. This is his first league game in charge, and it's a fixture that has been much missed over the past 2 seasons.
Sky Sports makes history once again as we broadcast its first ever live match. Well, how fitting it is that the two teams who brought the curtain down on last season in the Tennent's Scottish Cup final should meet on this historic day.
Looking forward to this very much indeed.
It's a fascinating fixture here, not bad for starters. Looking forward to the game. McCann, for me, one of the best players in the league last year, and he'll do well again this year, I'm sure.
It's the first competitive match of the season on Sky Sports. And it might come through to Stefan Adam! Oh, what a start for Hearts!
Great start for Hearts, disaster for Rangers.
Here's Hamilton, will it be 2? Oh yes it will! 2-0 to Hearts, Jim Hamilton! Rod Wallace with a great chance, and Rangers are back in the game! And Hearts have beaten Rangers by 2-1. How important could that be as we move all the way till May on Sky Sports?
Well, Rangers won it in the end. Nice haircut. Did that performance there and your performances around that time earn you your move to Rangers?
We won 2-1 that game, David. Sorry. Listen, the biggest thing about that was that we'd just come on in the back of water about winning the Scottish Cup in '98, and we felt almost invigorated because beating the Old Firm gives a team a massive amount of confidence. So then when we beat Advocate's side, we thought, right, we'll go and win the league here. And Hearts have to take that into the game today. They've got so many youngsters. If they had to get a result today, that could just absolutely propel them through this league.
Well, last August, Robbie Neilson played in an East Fife team which lost 5-0 to Rangers in League One. Today he meets Ali McCoist in very different circumstances. Let's hear from the two managers now. They've been talking to Luke Shanley.
Ali, Rangers against Hearts in the Championship. Can you put this game into context for us?
Well, it's certainly, you would think it'd be one of the biggest games in the Championship. You know, it's a fixture that's been massive throughout Scottish football. More so are always in the top flight and indeed cup finals and things like that. So it's a little bit strange in the respect that it's not in the top flight. Obviously, with ourselves and Hearts and Hibs being in the Championship, it's certainly got a real added interest for the Championship and indeed Scottish football.
Robbie, a new era for Hearts. What can we expect from your Hearts team today?
Yeah, hopefully a lot of energy. You know, a lot of positive play, a lot of football, and hopefully a good result.
Against Rangers, how can you get at them? And did you look at midweek, the Hibs game, and did you see any way that you can get at them?
You know, Rangers are a very experienced team. You know, we know that. We know coming here it's going to be very difficult for us, so we must make sure that our game's really positive and it's 100%. And if we can do that, then I'm confident we can take something from the game.
Well, good luck to Robbie Neilson, just 34, making his league debut as a manager, head coach to be technically correct. Started his career at Rangers as a youth, then played for Craig Levine at Cowdenbeath on loan, Hearts and Leicester. Walter, you capped him, his one cap, playing against the Ukraine. How big a task will it be for this young guy coming into this job with or without Craig Levine's help? Will he need Levine's help?
He'll need the help of a lot of people there. I mean, like any manager does. A starting position, like Neil said, I was a little bit surprised that they put an inexperienced manager into this position. He's got to show that he can handle it. Craig Levine can only help him so much of the time. He has got to go out and do most of the stuff on his own. It's going to be a hard task for him, especially if things don't go particularly well for him. So, big proving ground. Hearts are a big club. They've got an impetus if they can get a result today. I would say to you that it's a difficult task for them, considering that both Hibs and Rangers are in it, and someone's going to have to fall by the wayside in this one. But Hearts have got a bit of strength in their team, and hopefully, they can get back up again. Scottish football needs them all. Unfortunately, 3 of them can't get themselves promotion this season, so one has to stay.
Well, in a moment, the Govan stand behind me will be renamed the Sandy Jardine stand. Sandy, of course, died of cancer at the end of last season. He was a legend at Rangers and also at Hearts, and Alex McDonald was by his side at both clubs.
I think it'd be very emotional, yeah. When you start talking about him, to me, it gets very emotional. He was a great pal, great guy.
And will it be a fitting tribute today?
Oh, aye. Absolutely fantastic. I think every Rangers supporter will be really pleased.
How big a figure in Rangers history was Sandy Jardine?
Big time. You don't get a stand or anything like that for not doing anything at Ibrox. He was fantastic. I mean, he could play anywhere basically. Yeah, he was very, very fit, calm. Didn't kick as much. I didn't like that part of him. But he had plenty of pace about him. He was a great player.
In terms of the footballing side at Hearts, how big an influence was he in the renaissance at that club in the early 80s?
We worked really hard. There was a lot of talking. We sat down and spoke about things, and we tried to help the kids. It was great.
This Hearts Rangers game, what does it mean to both of you? How big an event is this?
I think it's massive for both of them. Obviously, Rangers will try to get back up there. And Hearts will obviously want to get back up right away. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great year.
And that was the former Govan stand. Now it's the Sandy Jardine stand. And at Walter Smith, It's clearly a wonderful tribute. How deserving was Sandy Jardine of that, given his contribution here?
Well, couldn't think anybody that deserves it more. Had a fantastic career at Rangers. He's always a great ambassador for the club, and everyone that knew him was so sorry for what happened to him. And you know, I think if you looked at someone who epitomised Rangers, it was Sandy Jardine.
We should remember he went to Tynecastle High School and he had that 8-year period at Hearts. How big a job did he do, along with Alex McDonald, in turning Hearts into what they are now?
Well, Alex and Sandy did a fantastic job. You know, if we're talking about, you know, Hearts getting into the Premier Division, or as Neil said, they won here at Ibrox to start the season, thought they were going to win the league. Sandy and Alec nearly did that, losing out in the last day of the season, both for the Scottish Cup and the league. So he did a fantastic, both of them did a fantastic job there. So they were pals, and no doubt Alec will miss them as much as anyone.
He certainly will. And the Barcelona Bears, there they are, there, Willie Matheson and Dave Smith, Derek Johnson behind them there, teammates of Sandy Jardine. From 1972 in that European Cup Winners' Cup winning team. And Neil, you get the feeling that that team there, like the Lisbon Lions, are like a band of brothers.
Yeah, well, I think the one thing that comes from that era is a closeness that all the players shared. So many times just now in the modern game, the players will come together obviously for training and playing, but apart from that they don't really socialise together. I think these teams were brought up in that, they were together all the time, they were socialising, as I said, after training, always together, and you've seen the strength of that come through on a football pitch. Sandy Jardine is a remarkable man. I had the pleasure of meeting him, and he was brilliant with me when I came to the club here at Rangers. He helped me a lot, he was always full of advice, and there's a few legends are around this stadium now, John Gregg, Sandy Jardine and the late David Cooper of course, so you know, it's a fitting tribute.
And do you think, Walter, that given the troubles in recent years, that the legends like Sandy Jardine, like yourself, with like all these old guys, are all the more important?
Look, I think people that have got a good relationship with a club are always important. You know, as you mentioned there about the Barca Bears there, you know, the guys that are coming out, they're a big part of Rangers history. Sandy Jardine was a huge part of Rangers history, and clubs need that, especially clubs like Rangers that are big clubs. They need to hold on to their traditions, and Sandy Jardine was a big part of that.
Quick word about the game while we're waiting for them to come out. How important is it for both of these clubs to get a good result today? First of all, Hearts, Neil.
It's important to get off to a winning start. Hibs managed to do it yesterday, thrown into the mix a goalkeeper scoring, which is quite new. But it's important to gain momentum, because it's going to be a difficult league, as I said before. The part-time teams in this league are fitter than ever before. There's managers there wanting to make their name in the mark, so they want to get the player position. So Hearts can't afford not to pick up points early on. Of course, it's going to be difficult today against the favourites.
And we'll have a title race as well in the Championship this year. How important is that? Because we clearly saw in League One last year, and even in the Premiership, with Celtic running away with it, the league suffered, don't they, without a title race?
Yeah, it's a big thing. I think the level of competition would be good for Scottish football again, and it's coming in the Championship. But for Rangers Football Club, as I said previously, there's only one thing that matters, and that's that they get promotion. That's the biggest single factor for Rangers Football Club, so it's vitally important they get off to a good start, build the momentum, and keep going from there.
They were criticised last year, Rangers, for the style of play. Does it matter, or do you think it will change with Miller and Boyd back?
Well, they had, 2 years ago, they never had a team. They only got their licence to play the day before it started. So there was always going to be problems in terms of style. Style can go out the window for a great deal of the time. Rangers have to win. So that's what they have to do first and foremost. But there's a lot of pressure on them this year to start playing in a better manner. And I think their midfield especially have to try and show that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with what I think they have to be more creative through the middle of the park. The thing is, when you have a big striker like John Daly up front, sometimes you do get dragged into going back to front, but it was effective. As I said, they scored over 100 goals in the league, and now they've gone and added Kenny Miller and Chris Boyd. I tell you, the rest of the Championship must be thinking, oh my God, when we face Rangers, we're going to have to defend like absolute warriors and try and steal things, because coming to Ibrox is difficult at the best of times, but when you're coming against such a strength and depth of squad, it's going to be tough. So yeah, Walter's right, only 2 places up for grabs, 1 automatic, 1 playoff. It's going to be a right good season ahead in the Championship.
And the Hearts team in the tunnel there, Danny Wilson, you had him as a teenager at Rangers. They were very, very young last year. a lot more experience in that Hearts team. If he's added the right experience with the good youth from last year that Gary Locke got through, might it be a successful season for Hearts that they can exploit that?
It may well be. Like everything else, that's what they have to prove. I mean, you know, Rangers themselves have to show that they can step up from the previous 2 seasons. Hearts are coming down a league, but they have to show that they can handle the championship. They'll have good experience for their younger players last season, but it's down to how they play. I mean, and this is a big test for them today, and we'll see how they handle that one.
Yeah, it's going to be a big test, it's going to be a great game, a lot to get through even before kick-off, and guiding us through it all are our commentators, Andy Walker and first, Ian Crocker.